Business Spotlight, brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.
I'm Sonya Farrall and welcome to Business Spotlight in partnership with Cross Rhythms City Radio and Baba Baboon. Joining me in the studio this week, we've got the magical Andrew van Buren from the Van Buren organisation and also the Philip Astley Project CIC. Andrew, hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, very good, very good. Nice to be here.
Like I've just mentioned, you know, the Van Buren organisation has been going for years and years and years. A lot of family connections related to the business. It's a business, obviously, that you're still involved in. But where did it all start?
Well, it started with my father, who was born just over the border in Cheshire, Sandbach. And he was born in 1932. The 5th of November, bonfire night, which explains a lot about his temperament, you know. And he basically was, you know, pre-war, coming into the war years. And at 4 years old, he went along to the butcher's shop to get the meat for the week for the family with a little note and the coins in there, and went home to his mum and said, "Mum, the butcher's selling elephant meat." He's like, "What? Elephant meat? What do you mean by that?" He says, "Well, in the window is a picture of the pig for the pork, the cow for the beef, the sheep for the lamb, and there's the elephant." She said, "No, that's a poster for a circus." And so he said, "What's a circus?" Went along to see Chapman's Circus, fell in love with the circus at 4 years old. And then it went from there, because they used to then go, whenever they could, up to Blackpool for the Blackpool Tower Circus, which is an incredible building, Frank Matcham built, interior to it, the four legs of the tower, the circus ring, sinks, floods with water for the big Waterford spectacular. So for a young boy, this was really magical, a totally different world. And then there was a chance meeting with a man called Bob Gandy, who happened to be based just down the road at Brereton. And Gandy's Circus was a small show. At the time, they hadn't got a circus tent or anything like that. It was outdoor performances. They did the theatre tours, but they needed to adapt and change direction. And so my dad was talking to him, realised they were local, and effectively ran away to the circus. And he would go along whenever possible, along to their winter quarters, listen to Bob and Rose Gandy, hear the stories about old showmanship and the old ways, which was, you know, at that point they were talking about the 1800s. And this was the kind of grounding for my dad. He started doing the trapeze, he did clowning, he learnt about animals and the magic, which became the key thing for him. But he had a good grounding doing that. When he left school, his mum turned round to him and said, "You need an apprenticeship, you need a proper job. You know, you can't do this running away with this riff-raff of the circus." And so he decided to do an apprenticeship as a French polisher and cabinet maker. Little did his mum realise that cabinet making was a perfect skill to complement being an illusionist, a magician. So there was a motive there. Then he met my mum, and they say it was love at first sight, but I think he also realised she was the right size to fit in the boxes. And that was it. They concentrated on the magic and illusions, and it all went from there. They became this illusion magic show, inventing a lot of new illusions, building the illusions, and performing them themselves. So it was a complete package that then took them into the theatres, working for the likes of Walt Disney, etc., etc. And yeah, the rest's history.
So, you know, like you're just talking there, it started with seeing a picture, you know, or a poster within a local butcher's shop of an elephant, where it instigated something, sparked something within your father, Fred, and basically that's where the business started. And for you as a child then, coming into this world of entertainment, what was it like for you, just to start off with?
Well, it was a magical world, but I didn't know it at the time. You know, it was all very ordinary and normal for me as a child. It's only, you know, when I started going to school that I realised there was something not quite on the normal path here. I mean, the first time I went on stage, I was 6 weeks old, taken on stage as a baby to be introduced to the audience. That was in the Great Room Grosvenor House in Park Lane, London. And then I walked on stage at the first time when I was about 3 years old, helping my mum and dad in the act. And it kind of went from there. So I grew up in show business, went on my own, as well as working with my mum and dad when I was 11 with my own act. Employed my first assistant when I was 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
She was 19, perk of the job. And well, I had to, because not only did I need somebody assisting in the act, but I wasn't old enough to drive. So she used to drive me to the gigs and then help me in the act. And we were working the nightclubs, the raves and everything, places I wasn't even old enough to go into, but they were employing me doing this mix of circus skills, which I did my own thing with the unicycle juggling, and then went on to the plate spinning. So my childhood was quite out of the ordinary, and it crossed over a little bit because, you know, I've got memories of spending time down at Elstree Studios in the Muppet Studios, you know, and just spending time there watching the filming of the Muppet Show, down in the workshops, seeing them making the Muppets, you know, magical memories and all these amazing places, spending time on the Star Wars set, you know, which was next door, which is where the link with the Yoda character came, because it's got Fozzie Bear's voice, and it was made by the Muppet Studios, because the two studios were literally next door to each other at Elstree, you know, so it was practical for them to create these characters. So it was a magical time, but the school didn't quite get it. You know, quite often I'd go to school from the summer seasons, and whenever possible I'd travel with my mum and dad learning the business, but occasionally I had to go to school. And I remember a big turning point for me was when, after the summer holiday, and I'd spent all summer down at Felixstowe in the theatre with my mum and dad, performing and working backstage, and they said, "Oh, what have you all done in the summer holidays?" And so-and-so's been to Rail, and so-and-so's been at home playing with his mates, so-and-so. And Andrew, what have you been doing? Well, I've just been down at the Muppet Studios on the Star Wars set. I've like, get out. Yeah. It's like, what? We're not having lying here. They didn't believe me. And all the kids were laughing and, oh yeah, you know, flights of fantasy. And that's when the penny dropped of, oh yeah, there's something a little bit different here. There's
something different, but from what you experienced, Andrew, there, but obviously, you know, yeah, you were born into the industry. You went on at 11 years old to go on and employ an assistant. So there's something there which is quite special, which I don't know if you know, immediately thought of it like this, but you were actually creating your own business yourself as well, along with your parents, your family, within the entertainment industry. Now, some of the things that you've mentioned there, you know, like the Star Wars and all the Muppet shows and all those, from somebody who's just watching that, whether on the TV or watching a theatre show, we might not necessarily think of this as the arts and this entertainment as a business. But from your side, I mean, how important can you say it really is, and this is what people do?
Well, I mean, the thing is, a big thing for me at that age, working particularly in the theatres and in the film studios, was being able to see all sides of the business. So, you know, I have memories of sitting in the wings as a child at the side of the stage, watching my parents work, watching all these old performers work, watching the pros of yesteryear all perform, these legends of the time. And you could see backstage. So you became knowledgeable of how the flies dropped the cloths in, etc., and how the props were moved and scenery moved. You saw the performance on stage, which is the second world of the business, and then also you got a glimpse of the audience as well. So you saw all three sides of the industry from that perspective of sitting on the side in the wings. And you know, a lot of performers go into the business, particularly with the magic side, as, you know, they bought a magic kit and then it becomes a hobby, and then eventually they turn the hobby into a business. Whereas for me, there was never that transition. It was always, I was born into a situation where, look, a contract arrives, you've negotiated a deal, you sign the contract, you turn up, you've got to be there on time, you've got the logistics of it, you've got then to provide the performance, become that new character, do all of that, and then leave, get home, maintain the business. It was never a hobby for me, it was always a business. And the clue is in the title, show business. You know, it's two words, it's show and business. And quite often you get people within the arts who are very good at the show or are very good at the art, but not so good at the business. Or you'll get people that are great business people, but lousy performers. So you've got to be good at business and the art side of it.
And in education then, I'm just going to move on to education as well, because
massively,
you mentioned, you know, that when you were at school, people didn't quite believe that you've been involved in these sorts of things. But how, from your side, and I know you've got a daughter and everything as well, who's also, I believe, a very good business negotiator.
Yes.
But also, you know, as a child maybe growing up, or even someone a bit older, you know, in, whether it's senior school, college and all that sort of thing, how is the arts important important in education for the future?
The arts are incredibly important, but there's a stumbling block there, and that's the perception. In my day, I'll remember that. Never until I die, I'll forget that situation of that conversation of, this is a lie, this lifestyle. I remember going to the careers officer when I was young, and this is going back a few years now. And what do you want to do? I want to go into show business like my parents. And we'll program this into this brand new computer that had just come onto the scene. And it gave out this big green and white folded paper print description of the ideal job application for me, after saying, I filled all these things in, working outdoors, theatrical, good with people, and the job description came up, 2 ideal jobs for you, bus conductor and TV aerial erector. Oh. Well, I'd be out of work now for both accounts of it, wouldn't I? Mm-hmm. Completely away from the arts. There was no understanding of it. Mm. And I thought over the years that things would have changed. There's a couple of things here, a couple of stories. I remember being very discouraged by a deputy headmaster, and I won't mention him because we've met since and we've got on great. But this is crazy. You can't go into the entertainment industry. And Carol Gandy and I did a talk recently for a business gathering about the business of circus. Because even though I work in all aspects of the business, circus is my passion because of the local link. And at the end of it, a gentleman came over to me and said, that was incredible. Are you local? And it's like, yeah, I'm local. I live in Silverdale. And, that was incredible. Why have I never come across you? Which school did you go? So I told him the school. He said, but I was the headmaster there. I know. Yes. But I can't remember an Andrew van Buren. I said, no, you may know me by my other name. And I told him, and his jaw hit the floor because he knew himself that he'd discouraged me. Yeah. And now here I was. They were trying to encourage me to join this organisation. And I'd just given a speech with Carol Gandy, who runs the world's second biggest entertainment provider of tented entertainment in the world behind Le Cirque du Soleil. So that blew the socks off. And the other thing is, I thought things would change by now, but all these years later with my daughter, Harley, she's 9 years old. And literally a couple of months ago, the teacher turned around and said, who wants to do what as a career? And, so-and-so wants to become a plumber, so-and-so wants to become a carpenter, so-and-so wants to work in a shop, so-and-so, all these different things. And then Harley, I wanted to go into show business like my parents and grandparents. And the reaction from the teacher was, no, dear. We mean a job, not a hobby. Ah. And this is the perception. So arts in school are incredibly important. Yeah. Because people don't realise the wide variety of impact the arts have. Not only the performance arts, but art, musical, sculpture, painting, all these different things. We had a symposium recently on placemaking at Manchester Met University, and I went to speak at that. And they said, but what is art? I said, well, everything is art. Look at this room we're sitting in now. The design of it is art. The clothes we wear is art. Computer games are designed with art. These things are important. It's not just somebody putting graffiti on a wall or somebody painting a picture to hang in your front room. Art is all around you. You put the radio on. Who's on the radio? Performers. Who's on the TV? Who's in the films? Performers. This is all art. People don't realise. And yet it's one of the biggest dumbed down things in schools there is. And this needs to change. It really does. I think, from
everything you've just said there, Andrew, even going back to school and being told, seeing a careers advisor, this is what I want to do, blah, blah, blah. And you're just getting... I got told, no, you can't go into journalism, which is then from a young age, which is what I wanted to do. Yeah. You can't do that. But... why don't you be a teacher? I don't want to be a teacher. And even one of my parents at one point even tried that. But I think, like you, I think sometimes the creative industry, here on Business Spotlight, we've had various creatives in, whether it's been videographers or branding, design, and all those sorts of things, even other PR marketeers as well. I think sometimes understanding that creative, that industry is a business. It's sometimes a barrier to get across. It
really is, and there's this lack of understanding of it. And when you think how multi-billion-pound industry the arts are in all the different aspects, people just do not realise this. It's something that needs to change. And I thought it had changed. And there is a leaning towards it. There is a greater understanding than there used to be in my time, and a massively greater understanding than in my parents' time. So it's heading the right way, but we're not there yet, you know. And people think of it as a luxury, and it really isn't. You turn the radio on, you turn the television on, you read a book, there's art everywhere. Performance art, you've got it in the streets, you've got it in circus, you've got it in theatre, the cinema. It is all around you. It's gone on forever. But there's this lack of understanding of it and the history of it, which is a passion of mine.
Yeah, and I'm a great believer as well. I'm sure you'd probably agree that, you know, the entertainment, arts, etc., it can really bring people together in so many different ways, whether it's people, you know, in our local areas, say in Staffordshire, Newcastle-under-Lyme, Stoke-on-Trent, or even across the world. And over the years, Andrew, you must have seen, like, you know, so many different changes throughout the business as well. And how do you, or what would you like to see in going forward for entertainment as a business?
I think the thing is, you've got to look at the history of it to know what's coming or what should be coming, because, you know, the impact now of the world with the internet, etc., it's like the town centres. You know, the shops aren't enough to bring people in anymore. The shops have become a byproduct. You know, you look at most towns, they've got a ring road that goes around the outside of a town. It's like a moat that people have got to cross somehow. What's happened, all of those ring roads have then been allowed to build these big festival-style parks. They've got the shopping malls, the shopping centres. You've got the big conglomerate companies, you know. It's like Newcastle-under-Lyme. It's a prime example. You've got Sainsbury's, you've got Tesco, you've got Aldi, you've got all these businesses circling the moat. So, you know, why cross that and go and park in town when you can just go and park for free on a car park, go into a supermarket, get everything under one roof? What's the incentive then? Because people, they've got short attention spans now. You think of how long an average advert is on television. People will say it's a minute and a half. No, it's seconds. You know, but people's attentions have gone that short, and it's a fast-paced society now. People want it now, they want it yesterday. So it's easier to go and just park there and jump in and just purchase everything under one roof, jump in the car, speed off, go home. The town centres, the shops that are in the town centres provide something that people have forgotten. They've forgotten it's that personal touch. A lot of people used to do this. They'd go into shops, not just for the groceries or whatever. It was the fact that they could then have a conversation. It's some older generation, it's the first time they'd interact with somebody that week or that day. You know, you go into the shop more than just for the goods. You go in for the experience. You don't get an experience in the supermarkets. The town centres provide an experience. People have forgotten this. But with the internet, you can now click online, it's delivered to your door. So how do you combat all of this? Arts, the special effects of the you know, you go down a street now and more walls are being professionally graffitied to become works of art. On the way here to the studio, I've stopped and take a photograph of a shop frontage that's got beautiful writing on the front. It's been done on, it's sign written, it's gorgeous in the fairground style. I've taken a photo of it, it's stopped me, it's affected me, it's had an effect on me. And I think performance is a big impact. I mean, in 2018, because of my Philip Astley project, we put on a number of events in the town centre of Newcastle-under-Lyme, as well as outside of the country. But we know for a fact we raised the footfall in that summer by approximately 60,000 people. So the footfall of those events increased the town centre footfall. It meant then there would be a knock-on effect of people spending in the cafes, going in the shops. Oh, while we're here, we'll buy this. Oh, look at this window. There's something nice in the window. Let's go and buy that. You know, you need events to bring people in now. You need exhibitions. You need all this kind of thing. You need the arts to help bring people in so that the town centre, again, becomes an experience, like it used to be, to go and talk to the shopkeeper for an experience, for interaction, for company. And that's what's needed now, but it needs to be bigger, grander and more spectacular. A few years ago, I persuaded Philip Gandy of Gandy's Circus to come and stand at the Rycroft site, the old Sainsbury's site of Newcastle-under-Lyme. And while they were there, we know for a fact that the businesses nearby had a good positive impact from that show being there. They've since gone to Trentham Gardens. I know for a fact that the shopkeepers at Trentham Gardens have had a raise of income whenever the circus has been there, and now they're encouraged to go there. Well, it was twice a year, but now they're even bringing the Ladyboys of Bangkok show there. So they've got 3 sets of shows there, which helps have that knock-on effect. I hate the term trickle-down effect, but it's that effect of people are there, they'll shop while they're there. It's an experience.
Andrew van Buren there, talking about the Van Buren organisation.
Business Spotlight, shining a light on our local business community. Brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.